TDS just added a new event tower, the Firework Technician. You can obtain it by completing a limited time mission, or just pay 499 Robux to instantly finish the mission. This might be the most complicated and confusing tower yet in TDS, but in return, it's incredibly powerful, giving two very useful buffs to towers. In this video, I'll be looking at its stats, values, uses, and explain how it works, then give my personal ranking of how good it is. And trust me, if you want to know exactly how this tower works, you're going to want to watch this video, as it was a nightmare to figure out. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. It costs 1,500 cash to place, making it pretty expensive. It's a 100% support tower, not dealing any damage itself, but buffing the towers around it. The first buff it gives is allowing towers to hit any type of enemy, which includes hidden, lead, and flying. That means you can make a turret attack balloons or a ranger attack shadow bosses. This buff is applied at the start of every single wave, and the duration of this buff is increased as you upgrade this tower. It also gives all towers in range a chance to shoot an additional firework when attacking, dealing extra splash and burn damage. Unlike the other buff, this buff is permanently applied to any towers within range. The chance of a firework being shot by a tower depends on several factors, and is honestly a nightmare to calculate, so we'll take a look at that later in the video after we've gone over all its stats. At level 0, it applies a detection buff for 15 seconds, has a range of 8, and each firework deals 5 damage and 2 burn DPS for 5 seconds. At level 1, for a total of 3,500 cash, the detection buff lasts for 20 seconds, and each firework deals 10 damage and 4 burn DPS for 5 seconds. The towers in range also have an increased chance to shoot fireworks, but again, we'll take a closer look at this after we've looked at all the stats. At level 2, for a total of 10,000 cash, the detection buff lasts for 25 seconds, and each firework deals 20 damage and 8 burn DPS for 5 seconds. Towers also get an increased chance of shooting fireworks. At level 3, for a total of 22,000 cash, the detection buff lasts for 30 seconds, and each firework deals 30 damage and deals 16 burn DPS for 5 seconds. Finally, at level 4, for a total of 44,000 cash, the detection buff lasts for 40 seconds, and each firework deals 45 damage and 28 burn DPS for 5 seconds. The firework explosion radius is also increased from 2 to 3, and towers have a further increased chance to shoot fireworks. Alright, now that we've gone over all the stats, let's talk about how its firework buff actually works. Obviously, the chance for a tower to shoot a firework increases as the Firework Technician is upgraded. However, it also depends on the fire rate of the tower being buffed. The equation is incredibly confusing and complex, like just look at this. What in God's name am I looking at? So I'm just gonna give a couple of examples of different percentages for different towers. This took so much time to figure out, so if you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Under a level 0 Firework Technician, a level 0 minigunner with a fire rate of 0.148 has a 2.5% chance to shoot a firework with each shot. However, under a max Firework Technician, it is increased to a 5% chance. In comparison, a max level ranger with a much slower fire rate of 7.008 has a 31% chance to shoot a firework under the effect of a level 0 Firework Technician, and a 62% chance under a max level 1. So as you can see, the odds change drastically depending on the fire rate of the tower. This is meant to make so each tower shoots roughly the same amount of fireworks regardless of how fast they shoot. Still, towers with a high fire rate tend to benefit more, as slow firing towers usually do a ton of damage anyways. With the ranger dealing 1050 damage per hit, the 45 damage from the firework and its burn isn't really that helpful. The minigunner, however, deals 2 damage at level 0, so each firework is a lot of extra damage. Also, single target DPS towers benefit the most, as this gives them the ability to handle crowds of enemies. This buff can actually be insanely strong. As you can see in the screenshot sent by Encrypted, during a falling game, this tower added an extra 312,000 damage. That is insane, and definitely worth 44,000 cash. Unfortunately, its range is pretty bad, and you can only place one, so you can't fit many towers inside of it. I highly recommend using it in combination with a DJ booth, as that can allow it to buff more towers. But remember, it doesn't only give a ton of extra damage, it also lets your towers hit every single enemy. Since the buff at max level lasts for 40 seconds at the start of each wave, it will usually last the entire round. But since max level is so expensive, I'd recommend sticking to the earlier levels if you're just looking for detection. At level 0, it only costs 1,500 cash, but the effect lasts for a solid 15 seconds at the start of each wave. That can be super helpful for something like wave 25 on hardcore mode, which quickly sends out 3 hidden bosses. Normally, this is really hard to counter because you need to get high DPS towers of hidden detection, but now you have significantly more options to deal with it. Essentially, Lotus can be much more DPS focused rather than having to account for coverage. So in terms of adding extra damage, it can be incredibly strong if used correctly. Place a ton of high fire rate towers like the Pursuit and watch its damage pile up. And because of the potential the full detection buff has, I'm gonna rank this tower as a solid S tier. I believe this is gonna prove to be very useful in the future, as it's pretty insane that it has 2 very powerful buffs at once. But with that, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this tower and whether or not you agree with my ranking. I think it's pretty cool, but I'm disappointed that they locked such a cool idea behind an event tower. And if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Head Mafia. Also, if you want to talk to me, consider checking out my Discord. We got some pretty cool features, like a custom party finder bot that will automatically pair you up with other people who are trying to do the same strategy. There's a link to the server pinned in the comments. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out to these channel members for supporting my content. If you want to add me as a friend on Roblox or get early access to some of my videos, consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.